you guys ever watched a show truly so terrible that you had to tell all your friends about it? I have so many times. Well, I know my friends are so supportive of me and love watching me yap for hours on end about things they're never going to watch because truly, why would you? I thought that I would spare them the horror and just, inject it straight into the internet. So here we are. If you haven't heard of it before, Hemlock Grove is one of Netflix's first Netflix original TV shows. I am going to go ahead and say this is not a good show. I have no ill feelings towards the actors in the show. The writers, you know what you did. It is a lot of these young actors' first big show, so I'm not gonna rip into them too much, but if you've seen the show, no comment.
What time is it?
It's 2 weeks since you passed out.
What?
Oh, and right before we get started, I do want to go ahead and give a content warning. This show has all of it. If there's like a sensitivity, it probably has it. I'm not gonna go in depth into any of the scenes, just because I feel like that's not necessary. There is definitely a lot in the sexual violence category. Just a heads up. The show is very clearly written by men who need their hard drives searched. So take that as you will. First things first, shout out Hemlock Grove Wiki for having an in-depth description of the majority of this show. Due to how difficult it was for me to get a hold of all 3 seasons, this was a lifesaver, and it's really also one of the only things that made this stupid family tree make sense. This show has some real dedicated fans, and I will never stomp on their sparkle. I will, however, stomp on their show, so let's get into it. We start in the small town of Hemlock Grove, where a series of murders of teenage girls has occurred. The main 2 suspects are Roman Godfrey, who is the 17-year-old quintessential bane of my existence rich boy. He is unknowingly a vampire. The other suspect is Peter Romancic, and he is a 17-year-old Romani werewolf. He is aware that he is a werewolf. Roman's family are the Godfreys, who are the richest family in town, mostly due to the fact that Roman's father, J.R. Godfrey, built and owned the now abandoned steel mills in town. And after that, he built Godfrey Towers, which is the other place that everyone works. It's kind of a vague scientific institute sort of thing. Peter just recently moved to town with his mother, Linda. They move around a lot because as the show likes to hit every single stereotype on the head, they are Romani. They just moved into the trailer that sits at the bottom of the hill that Godfrey Manor sits on. Before the boys even meet at the beginning of this, Roman and Peter's moms both warn them against each other. Peter's mom more so because Roman is a vampire, which she is aware of even though he's not. And Roman's mom because the Romancics are Romani. Shortly after he moves to town, Peter is seen taking a nap in a hammock, and he is dreaming about Ouroboros, which is a snake eating its own tail. We later find out that he and Roman share this dream, which is one of the 2 things that connects them together. Peter is awoken from his nap by Christina, angsty teen extraordinaire. She is a 13-year-old wannabe writer, and she loves to info dump. Girl, me too. She asks Peter if he is a werewolf because his index and his pointer finger are the same length, which is apparently signs of werewolfism. Peter jokes and says, haha, yeah, I'm a werewolf, but he's not really joking because he is a werewolf.
A werewolf?
Now we know who your literary influences are.
You gonna find me a vampire to have a sexless three-way with?
Gross.
And then the sheriff kind of pulls up and eyeballs them, and the two part ways. At the first day of school, Peter tries to talk to Christina, but she brushes him off, saying that she doesn't want to be associated with an outcast, which is kind of weird because we later find out that Christina's whole character thing is that because she wants to be a writer, she wants more interest in her life. So, I don't know. This is just a weird thing for them to do with her character. She then goes and tells everyone that he's a werewolf, and they just believe him. The mechanics of how this world works are very odd to me. Christina, one, thinks that Peter is a werewolf, which would mean that she has some sort of belief in the supernatural, which is fine. But then she tells people that he's a werewolf, and they all just believe her. And it's not just like her classmates, it's not just like children, it's also the sheriff and the townspeople. So I don't know, but we're also led to believe that they don't really believe in werewolves because later someone asks Peter about clinical lycanthropy, which is where you believe you're a werewolf even though werewolves aren't real, you know? So I don't know, very odd, who knows? The only other person at the high school that is also at the bottom of the totem pole popularity-wise is Roman's sister, Shelley Godfrey, who is eventually revealed to be a sort of Frankenstein's monster. In a flashback, we are told that Shelley died when she was a baby, but was taken to the Godfrey Institute, where everyone's favorite evil genius, Dr. Price, resurrected her, but it did leave her deformed and mute. After Shelley reveals her true face to the audience, we are given a flashback of 13 years prior, where J.R. Godfrey, who is Roman's father, and Norman Godfrey, who is Roman's uncle, get into a fight, where J.R. asks for help to destroy his wife, Olivia. Norman refuses, and then J.R. is like, "Oh ho ho, but I've known this whole time that you've been having an affair with her." And then he goes home and he kills himself. So I guess that's where that went. In the present day, another murder of a girl named Lisa Willoughby occurs near the school, and without having met each other, Roman and Peter both separately decide that they are going to solve this murder. I don't know, their characters don't seem terribly inquisitive in general. They just, I guess, have this fated bond sort of thing, just via their dreams. Peter goes to check out the crime scene, but the police kind of intercept him and interrogate him and end up eventually letting him go. That night, Peter goes to return again, and he finds Roman Godfrey, who says,
"What did it feel like?
What did what feel like?
Killing that girl."
I didn't kill her, I figured it was you.
And then the cops show up, but before they can arrest them, Roman uses his mind control that he has that no one questions, including Roman, who's not aware that he's a vampire, even though he can mind control people and he has a blood infatuation. The next day, Norman is at his house and his wife walks into the room and announces to him that their teenage daughter, Letha, Letha, is pregnant. Letha and Roman are cousins, and she is pretty much Roman's only friend before Peter shows up. Letha, after being asked who the father is, tells everyone that she's convinced that she was impregnated by an angel. Her father, who is a psychiatrist, thinks that she has some sort of trauma-induced amnesia, but no one really pushes it. Norman then goes to Olivia Godfrey's house and asks her if she had anything to do with his daughter's immaculate conception. Then the two bang. Obvious resolution to a conversation, I guess. Roman and Letha later go to the school dance where Roman is uncomfortably jealous about his cousin. Roman finds out about Letha's pregnancy and once again gets way too defensive of her, asking her who the father is. Letha insists that it was an angel. The two swerve off the road as there is a man sat there muttering about the dragon. The next full moon, Roman passes Peter a note in class that just says, "Can I watch?" Okay.
And if the wicked man in there had not known how I love him, and that not because he's handsome, Nellie.
Hey.
An incredibly homoerotic scene ensues where Roman watches Peter strip down and transform into a wolf. Moving on, we get this wonderful, nasty scene of Christina finding a dead body in the woods and then, for some reason, assuming that it's fake, even though she is there very much alone. She thinks people are trying to prank her, so she decides that she's going to make out with the corpse before realizing that it's real. A sexy lesbian by the name of Clementine Chasseur arrives into town pretending to be with the Fish and Wildlife Services.
I'm from Fish and Wildlife Service.
You guys get badges?
That's what the badge says.
But she is secretly a part of a top secret Catholic monster hunting society and suspects Peter of doing the murders due to the werewolf rumors circulating about him. Very much giving supernatural. Back at the school, Shelley is getting tormented by a group of bullies. Roman storms in, uses his mind control powers, and gets them to kind of piss off. Roman and Peter discuss Clementine, and Peter reveals that he thinks that the murderer is a Vargulf, which is an insane werewolf. The lore behind the Vargulf and how it works kind of varies from season to season. We're going to see it's not very consistent. Roman is gung-ho about finding and killing the Vargulf, but Peter is more reluctant. Peter later goes to his cousin Destiny, who is a psychic, and tells her about the Vargulf and his new friend Roman. Destiny says that putting a bullet in the Vargulf by the next moon should kill it, but warns Peter to stay away from Roman because he is bad news. Clementine goes to talk to Christina about the body that she found, and once again, Christina points the finger at Peter, claiming that he is the werewolf. Peter and his mother, taking Destiny's advice, decide to leave, but before they can, Clementine shows up and questions Peter about clinical lycanthropy.
Peter, I'm Dr. Chasseur. I'm a special agent with the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service.
Didn't realize I was that hairy, ma'am.
Peter shows up at Roman's front door, deciding now that Clementine suspects him, it would be suspicious of him to run away. Peter then agrees with Roman's plan to hunt the Vargulf, and our boys set off. Clementine questions Norman and Francis Pullman, and Francis describes a demon dog attacking Lisa Willoughby. Clementine goes to question Dr. Price about any science experiments that may have escaped from the White Tower, and Dr. Price is adamant that everything is accounted for. Roman and Peter decide to go to the cemetery and exhume the victim's body in search of evidence.
They're coming to get you, Barbara.
They uncover the body, and Peter takes a sample of her organs when Clementine and the sheriff also show up, but the boys flee before they can be found out. A few days pass, and Letha, who has been having sexy dreams about Peter, approaches him at lunch and begins to flirt. Roman is not happy about this, but does not say anything. The Letha-Peter-Roman love triangle is very strange to me because I'm not sure if the premise of Roman's jealousy is meant to be that he is in love with his cousin or that he is in love with Peter, because a couple of things happen later in the season that could really lead credence to either argument, which is concerning. Roman and Peter take the dead girl's organs to Destiny, who puts the worm in the organs so it can feed off of her flesh, and then eats the worm herself. She sees a vision of the girl looking at a flyer, and the boys follow their lead. Stina has been having a hard time since she made out with that dead body in the woods. She is admitted to Hemlock Acres, which is the mental institution that Roman's uncle works at. After Norman gives her some drugs, he releases her back to society, I don't know, where Peter approaches her and tries to check on her, and she starts yelling at him, demanding that he will not get away with these murders. Peter and Letha go on a pseudo date, unbeknownst to Roman, where Letha dishes out some drama regarding Olivia, including the fact that Olivia had another daughter prior to Roman named Juliet, who had died under mysterious circumstances that led JR to blaming her the moments leading up to his suicide. We also get a date between Christina and this kid named Tyler, who's relatively unimportant in the grand scheme of things. But after they go to a movie, he goes in to kiss Christina, who seems at the moment to be having a really good time. But then she gets a flashback to kissing the corpse and she claws his eyes out. Bummer. Roman and Peter continue to investigate the Lisa Willoughby death, which leads them to the old steel mill. While the two investigate the building, they find the lower half of Lisa's body. Not good. But not before the cops show up and arrest Roman for trespassing. Peter hides out, and he finds all sorts of ritualistic and creepy stuff in the basement that never gets brought up again. Olivia Godfrey has been losing it lately, seeming to have run out of some mysterious eye drops. She had been receiving them from Peter's uncle Vince before he died, leaving his trailer to Linda and Peter. Olivia is too proud to ask Linda for more, so instead she tears through some Romani script looking for information on how to make the serum, to no avail. She gets to such a bad point that she passes out. Norman comes to her rescue for some more painful affair flirting. Olivia then commissions Dr. Price to build an obstetrics unit for the Godfrey Institute, specifically so that Letha can have her baby there. Norman asks Olivia about this, but she sleeps with him again, and he drops the question, as he does every single time. Shelley goes to town to visit her friend Jenny that we see a couple of different interactions with prior. One of them is her and Roman hooking up, and the other is just her being generally kind to Shelley. I love Jenny. Jenny has my whole heart. She is like one of the 3 people in this whole town who are treating Shelley like a human being. Shelley goes and visits her, and Jenny notices a pair of earrings that Shelley had liked at the shop, and she set them aside for her. Shelley goes, takes the bus back to town, buys the earrings, and then wears them to dinner, which makes Olivia pissed.
Why on earth would you take the bus anywhere?
She starts yelling at Shelley, but then Roman jumps in to defend his sister, where he reveals that he knows that he is the sole beneficiary of his father's money and company, and as soon as he turns 18, Olivia will no longer have any power over her children. Peter is freaked out by everything happening with the murders and being investigated by the police, so he goes to Roman in very much a breakup scene.
This is over. We're done. It was really stupid. I'm an asshole. I'm sorry, okay? You can't walk away from this.
He tells him that he doesn't want anything to do with the investigation, and Roman begs Peter to stay. But when Peter doesn't change his mind, Roman tells Peter that if he sleeps with Letha, he will kill him. So more of the weird love triangle. This whole show is just weird love triangle. It's not specifically this weird love triangle, but the whole show is weird love triangle. For this season, we have 3 main questions. 1, who is the killer? Currently, the cops' 2 suspects are Roman and Peter. Roman and Peter know that it's a Vargolf, but we don't really have any real suspects for them. What's the deal with Letha's baby? Our girl Letha got impregnated by an angel by her own account. What's the deal with that? And number 3, will those boys kiss? There is a lot of homoerotic tension going on between these 2 boys. I have to ask myself, are they gonna kiss? As far as I can tell, Roman is in love with Peter. Peter flirts with Roman, but I don't really see Peter being into Roman at this point in time. Later on, that might change. It could also be argued that Roman is into Letha because of A, how much he is defensive of Letha, and B, how much he doesn't want Peter to sleep with Letha. Although, once again, that could lead credence to the Roman-Peter argument. Back to the news. Roman does a bunch of coke and starts cutting his face up with a razor when Clementine shows up and questions him about Peter being a werewolf.
What is your association with Peter Romancek?
We hang out.
Anything else you want to tell me about that relationship?
But Roman ain't no snitch. Roman protects Peter's identity despite the fact that he's beefing with him right now because that's his boyfriend. And when Olivia arrives home, Clementine makes a comment about her big old footprints being at the steel mill where Clem found the lower half of Lisa Wilborough's body. Suspicious indeed. Roman then, hopped up on coke, etc., decides to drive over to Peter's trailer where he sees Peter and Letha banging it out. We get an incredibly melodramatic shot of Roman watching them from outside in the rain and fuming. Continuing his mental breakdown, he shows up at this girl's house drenched in rain and obviously not doing well. She brings him inside and tries to comfort him when he proceeds to her and then brainwashes her into forgetting that it ever happened. Roman does more coke and crashes his car near the White Tower. He storms in, mind controls people to let him pass. Then when he finds a door that he can't open with mind control, he randomly whips out a blowtorch and begins to open it that way. Dr. Price then comes along and is like, hey, I can open the door for you, and shows him around the lab to this ominous box in the middle of the laboratory. My gosh, this is Ouroboros. That would have been a distinctly more dramatic reveal if I hadn't stuttered. Roman is about to open it when Price jams a needle into the side of his neck to sedate him, but Roman slips right into a coma. Olivia brings Roman home where Shelley sits beside him at his bedside, and Roman has a vision of Shelley in a normal human girl form guiding him through the underworld to destroy the monster inside of him because he, just did a bunch of Roman has a very strange and convoluted dream where he watches his cousin dance sexily on a projector screen, hangs out with Peter at a steel mill. Clementine tells him to go through a metamorphosis. His mom gropes him, and then JR in the finale reveals to him that Norman is his real father, which makes Letha his half-sister, if you were tracking there. Letha and Peter's relationship develops and becomes more serious, and in a very awkward scene, Peter meets Letha's parents. Marie, Letha's mother, then in the middle of the dinner alludes to the fact that she is aware of Norman's affair with Olivia, and everyone just kind of sits with that. At school, Peter is tormented by bullies. They outnumber him and beat him pretty badly until Letha steps in and saves her boyfriend. Olivia caves and goes to Linda for the eye drops. Linda agrees to sell them to her for $5,000 a bottle. Get your bag, Linda. The two share a joint and then bond over being single moms of teen boys.
What would a man provide anyway?
Sometimes it's just nice having them around. Nice. Incredibly stupid. Utterly useless.
Peter shows up with Letha, and Olivia offers for Peter to stay at the Godfrey Manor so that the bullies don't come after him. She has decided that Peter is a good influence on Roman in defiance of her hating him for the first half of the season. Peter, Letha, and Shelley hang out at the Godfrey Manor, and Peter wakes up in the middle of the night looking at the now full moon. Concerned about Letha being in danger of the teen-killing Vargulf, Peter tells her in an intense argument that seems like it might break their relationship that he's gonna go after it himself in order to protect her. Peter goes upset to Roman's room, and Roman wakes up from his coma, apologizing to Peter, kind of, for his actions the days prior, and that he's going to join him on his hunt for the Vargulf, whether he likes it or not. Clementine is visited by a priest who is a leader of the Order of the Dragon, which is the secret monster hunting coalition that she's a part of, and he tells her that she needs to kill Peter because he is the one doing the killings. But Clem is still unsure that he is the culprit, although she is sure that he's a werewolf. Clementine follows Roman and Peter, who are on the search for the Vargulf, once again at the steel mill. Clementine takes Peter down with a tranq dart, and Roman begs for her not to kill Peter, but Clem assures him it's for the best. Right before she goes through with it, Olivia reveals herself and hypnotizes Clem and then kills her, having Dr. Price dispose of the body. The sheriff's twin daughters, Alexa and Alyssa, who we've seen multiple times but haven't had a great deal of bearing on the plot, apart from being friends with Christina, are killed by the Vargulf, which causes Christina so much stress that the rest of her hair that has been gradually turning white goes full platinum.
No, 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 no.
At this point, she is living in the mental institution full-time and is pretty much unresponsive after hearing the news. After the sheriff's daughters die, he is resolute on getting revenge and he sets his sights on Peter. Peter wakes in Roman's bed, unclothed, mind you.
Fuck.
Well, what?
I should have been stronger for you.
Stronger?
Peter is then reunited with Letha when the cops raid the Godfrey house and assault Peter and Letha, as well as threatening to shoot Shelley. Roman will have none of this, so he walks in and hypnotizes the cops to leave. Roman and Letha take Peter to hide out at the abandoned chapel near Hemlock Acres, and Peter decides that he has to face the Vargulf as a wolf, which means that he has to do a ritual to change on a wrong moon. Roman helps him prepare when they get a phone call from Letha saying that she needs help. Both of the boys go and check on her. Turns out that Christina had escaped from Hemlock Acres and arrived at Letha's house, acting very strange. Peter thinks that the Vargulf will go after Christina next. Another body is discovered and is identified so very tragically to be Jenny. Rest in peace, Jenny. Norman breaks this to Shelley, who is devastated. At this point in time, Norman has also told Olivia that he is going to leave his wife for her, and Olivia's like, cool. The gang returns to the chapel when Christina starts giggling menacingly and reveals that bum 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 bum, she's the Vargulf. Who'da thunk? Evidently, after she met Peter, she drank rainwater out of his paw print, which turned her into a werewolf. That seems way too easy. Everything she did because she wanted to be a writer and she felt like her life was too boring, so she spiced it up. Girl boss! Christina transforms and eats Peter's face, completing the ritual that would allow him to transform on an off moon without becoming a Vargulf. The two face off, no pun intended, and Christina ends up taking Peter out. Shelley suddenly appears and pulls Christina away, snapping her neck and killing her. Christina then reverts to her human form just in time for the sheriff to storm in, getting the wrong idea and shooting Shelley in the back. Typical. Shelley runs away and Roman stops the sheriff with his mind control powers. Well, I guess that Peter didn't really sacrifice his face because after he reverts from his wolf form, he's just straight up fine. Norman and the sheriff orchestrate a story pinning everything on Shelley to protect Peter, which is weird, but we're going with it, okay? Roman desperately looks for Shelley to no avail. He's pretty much the only one that does. Letha goes into labor and Peter has decided that he's going to be the baby's father. He and Roman go to the waiting room where they smoke cigars together. They're like 17, just reminding you. It's two 17-year-old boys smoking cigars while a teenage girl gives birth. They then have this scene, which Make your own assumptions.
I could have never done it if I hadn't had you there with me.
Anyways, in a terrible twist, both Letha and the baby die, leaving everyone devastated. After being accused of being a serial killer and then losing both Letha and the baby he was about to raise, Peter decides to leave town with his mother.
Tell me what you need.
Peter.
Roman pretty much totally shuts down after he finds out that the man that he's in love with has abandoned him right after his cousin / half-sister died. Olivia tells Roman in such a cheerful tale how back in the olden days in Romania, when she was a young girl, she had fallen in love with a slave boy named Dimitri. She ran away with him, was impregnated by him, and then ditched in the woods after he sold all her things. Olivia gave birth to their daughter, who was immediately given away to a peasant family. Olivia then takes Roman to the attic, where, surprise, surprise, the baby is alive. Double surprise, and much to my dismay, Roman is the father of his biological half-sister's baby. Evidently, Olivia hypnotized Roman into his half-sister and then mesmerized Letha into thinking that it had been an angel. She then admits that she had committed infanticide multiple times before she had Roman. That explains the one daughter. That was because she wanted a vampire baby, and she wants Roman to eat his incest daughter because, much like Roman, she has the call, and eating her would fulfill his destiny. You can't make this up! Roman, understandably, does not take this information well and kills himself. But wait! That's what Olivia wanted all along. Apparently, when she was abandoned by her lover in the woods, she killed herself, which was how she became a vampire. Roman comes back from the dead, full vampire now, drains his mother's blood, and then kisses her and rips her tongue out with his teeth. Wow, what a season. Now that our show has come to a close, we have some key details that we need to go over. First of all, what's our body count looking like? My beloved Clementine Chasseur, unfortunately dead at the hands of Olivia Godfrey. All of our victims of the Vargolf killing: Brooke Bluebell, dead. Lisa Willoughby, dead. Francis Pullman, not dead because of her, dead because he stabbed himself in the neck with a needle. But, you know, he's there too. Alyssa and Alexa Sworn, also dead. Jenny, dead. Tyler, I'm pretty sure just survived. I guess that guy's fine. Male privilege if I've ever seen it. Sheriff Sworn, we see at the end of the show, building bombs in his basement. Letha, also dead. Really one of our only main characters to die during the stint of this season. This body count will truly rack up by the end of season 3. So stay tuned. As for the question of, will those boys kiss? Unfortunately, not yet, but we've still got 2 seasons to go, so you better buckle up, buttercups, because some crazy stuff is gonna happen. I am not exaggerating. It is truly buck wild. Let's get into it next time.